Hey, welcome back to Sip Happens. I'm one of two hosts, Shawn Banerjee. You know what? Never mind. I'm Rosie Games. And with me, as always, is...
Shawn Banerjee? Sound energy is what my web captioner got that as.
What was it a few weeks ago? Show some teeth?
Yeah. I like that guy.
I'm-
Can we get that person back?
yeah, let me go
Cool.
find Show Some Teeth Energy. How you doing today, Rosie?
I'm doing well. Hanging out. I'm in my comfy clothes today, so I'm really excited about that.
Nice. Me too. I'm in my comfiest button down.
That's amazing. How are things out by you?
Things are good. Things are good. Vaccines are rolling out. We're very happy. By the time this airs, I will probably have been fully vaccinated. I got my appointment for my first shot, and they set up the second shot appointment at the first, so the whole thing.
Amazing.
I didn't know you had to wait around an hour after. Like, my friends just went and got theirs. Friends of the show, Ben Heisler and Paige Lightman.
Our first guests.
Yeah, that sounds right. They went today and got theirs today, the day that we're recording, and they were like, "Yeah, you have to wait around an hour to make sure you don't, have an adverse reaction or something." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm glad I scheduled the whole day to do this in case I get sick or something."
Yeah.
Anyway, ooh, what is this blue beverage? Somebody hit the hydrate button in chat.
Sure. Or I ate lunch and it included some popcorn, so I'm thirsty.
Nice. Lunch. That's the thing I should do.
Hey, what are we doing today?
Oh, I thought this was it. I thought it was just a quick check-in. See the audience? No? All right.
I think we have a guest.
Yeah, I think we do too. Do you know the guest's name?
JB, or better known on the internets as DropTheDie.
That's right. DropTheDie is known for his tabletop reviews, his advice, and his finery, which in the pre-interview I asked nothing further about because I wanted to find out on stream what that means.
Yeah.
But we're going to bring him on in just a little bit. First, we're going to lick me.
I knew you were gonna say something in that vein, so I'm very excited you did. Yeah, we are trying another dryad tea this week called Lick Me. Chocolate and orange, a tea pair that is good enough to lick. Deep and promising, great with a touch of milk, actually, is what that says.
Very cool.
What are the ingredients? Sorry.
No, you're good. It's you usually ask, and I was just like, I'll just go into it. Black tea, orange pieces, safflower petals, calendula. Wait, how did?
That's spelled. Yeah, calendula. That's how Ted pronounced it.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah. Or in this case, calendule.
Yeah.
Petals, blackberry leaves, and our favorite natural flavors.
Yes.
What do we got for brew instructions?
3 to 5 minutes in steeping, 200 Fahrenheit or 93 Celsius.
Hot. Oh no. Oh, she hates it.
No, she doesn't. That is not the hate face.
You like licking me? Lick me? Sorry.
Focus.
Nope. That's not going to happen. I didn't take my meds today.
I thought you were doing so well the last time we talked about that. No, don't lick it now.
My ADD meds are as needed. Thank you very much. I took my other meds. Yeah, like, don't worry, guys. All of my medications have been taken for the day.
This smells really, really, really delicious.
It does. You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever had a chocolate orange?
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. Yes.
Every year for Christmas, we try to track one down, which is getting harder and harder to do. Like, they're not as readily available.
Right?
Yeah. But every year for Christmas, we try to track one down. I love chocolate oranges. They're such a part of my youth. I have such good Christmas chocolate orange memories. And this smells just like it, and I'm very excited. It has raised the bar on itself for expectations. So, Dryad, if this doesn't taste just like a chocolate orange, I will review it honestly. What do you got? What kind of mug is that?
Just my pink mug today.
I got my Critical Role. Don't forget to love each other mug.
Good. I got my Critical Role hoodie. We're representing.
Nice, yeah. Hopefully our guest has something Critical Role related. Otherwise, you'll be left out.
Otherwise, speaking of our guest, let's get him on the screen.
Oh, can y'all not see him?
Hi, guest.
Hi, guest.
Hello. Hello, hosts. Hello, host.
The traditional greeting of guest and host. What's going on, JB? How are you doing?
I'm all right. It's been one of those mornings. We're actually a little late to record this, by the way, dear viewer and or listener, because literally everything in my apartment decided to fight me this morning, from the stand behind me to the web captioner to my camera. It was all just rebelling all morning long. So the fact that we only made it 19 minutes late is its choice.
I'm picturing, though, in my head, like it physically fighting you and you're all like punching it. Like, that's what I was more imagining, more so than it just not working for you.
Like someone cast animate objects on everything in his apartment?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, borderline. we almost got there. I ruined 1 cup of tea, and it's a precious little sampler, so it doesn't have a lot. And it came out so bitter because I forgot it for like 15 minutes, and it steeped way too long.
Wait, what do you call that, Shawn, when you steep it too long?
Bad.
No, you had a phrase for it.
Oh, you mean when you send your tea to Tanland?
Yeah.
Yep. Was it super tanniny? Did you taste it after?
Yeah, I did taste it to see if I could salvage it. I added too much sugar to try and make up for the bitter tannin taste. And it had decaf coffee beans in it too. So it had that extra bite of just unpleasant disgustingness.
No.
Luckily, I have 2 cups left. So we're trying one today. And we'll stick with that.
Why did it have decaf coffee beans? Or is that just naturally included in whatever tea
It's
blend?
naturally included in this tea blend.
This is exciting. Tell me more about this tea blend.
So
Information.
I don't usually stand by companies that I don't swear by. And Friday tea is my go-to tea, right?
We just ordered Friday tea.
You can also use coupon code DropTheDie at checkout. Save yourself 10% and put some money in my pocket. But I also support Found Familiar coffee because it's the first gourmet coffee that I've had that really blew me away and felt like it was worth the price point. So this is a Friday tea with Found Familiar coffee in it. And it's been recommended to me over and over and over again. It's called the Spice Must Flow by French Afternoon Tea. It's super light. It smells delicate. I do not know what flavors are supposed to be in this, but
that's fine.
I can smell some ginger, either bergamot or orange peel. It's got really delicate flavors like that. And then this huge, bombastic cinnamon and coffee and maybe a green tea. It smells more like stems or maybe like a compressed gunpowder tea. But it's got this really, really ramped up layer after layer of flavor. I'm not sure that I love it. It has a lot of caramel flavors that I usually find a little overbearing. But it's very, very complex. And I can enjoy that regardless.
I am
It
so...
smells amazing.
Maybe I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, can I add something to my order? I know you haven't shipped it yet.
Yeah, if you can do that, you add it to mine too.
Friday usually sends out a sampler when you do buy tea from them, even if it's a sampler pack. They usually send 1 or 2. I'm sure if you reach out and ask, they'll throw in a Spice Must Flow. But if you want my honest and earnest recommendation for the best tea of theirs that I've ever tried, it's one called Rebecca's Orange Spice.
I almost put that on my list.
It is everything that I love about this tea. It has that delicate but sharp citrus flavor. It's got all these layers of complexity and spice with cardamom and cinnamon, but it doesn't have that caramel taste that kind of steals the show from everything else. I think that I would edge that one out over Spice Must Flow. But I only had the 1 sampler, and I like greedily kept it in a little glass vial so that I could turn it around and love on it until I finally finished it.
That's amazing. yeah, we're definitely gonna reach out, and I mean, this will not be the last time we order tea from them.
Well, I would hope not.
Yeah.
Sip happens needs a lot of tea.
We have a lot. Both of us ordered Dryad Teas battle boxes, which come with 75. You have 2 of them, right, Shawn? Didn't you get
What?
2 battle
I just
boxes?
ordered one.
Oh, okay. So we
I
both
ordered
have
1 battle box, but I also have like a 6-month monthly subscription I'm in the middle of.
So we have 75 plus teas from them too.
I think that a lot of people kind of sleep on the samplers that a lot of these bespoke tea companies give out. There's like between 3 and 5 cups worth of tea in each of those samplers. And when the sampler box has 15 to try, it can last you quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of the sampler boxes. Even if I don't enjoy everything in it, I enjoy getting a feel for their variety and a feel for their design ethic. Like, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure mine's steeped for 3 to 5 minutes. So
mine just hit 4 minutes. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm digging the smell.
Ooh, me too. It's too hot though. I can feel that it needs like at least a minute there. It smells really good. So
the blackberry
JB,
leaves.
Oh yes. Aside from being awesome, a tea and coffee connoisseur, as we are learning, tell us a little bit about the finery that you engage in, or do, or whatever verb that you want to put there.
So the reason that I put tabletop finery on a lot of the stuff that I do is there's a whole lot that falls into that category outside of dice paraphernalia, stuff like that. People generally, and the reason I started my website is people don't really have a good frame of reference for tabletop products. They don't know what's worth the money. They don't know why something costs as much as it does. So when people look at a set of dice from Zuccotti Dice, for instance, and they see that it's $2,800 for 4 dice, they're like, what in the world? Until someone comes along and I like clap my hands real loud. They're made out of meteorite and it takes 5 months to make each die. It's worth the $2,000 if you have the money and you want it. There's this big inconsistency in the market where people will say, why would you buy a dice rolling tray from Wormwood when you can use the top of a shoebox and roll the dice that your granddad had in the 50s? And like,
yeah, why would anybody spend all that money on Wormwood? It is well, that's actually Pixis Arcana, not Wormwood, but yeah.
We get it. If you move your head a little bit to this side more, you gotta go this way. Other way.
For a second, I thought you were talking to me. Yeah, I'm like, it's all the same.
Well, it looks good. I wanted to see it though, just to make sure it was consistent. Yeah, Shawn has a very sincere obsession with Wormwood, which I love and appreciate.
I do. Also, various dice companies.
So, like, I have drawers full of stuff. So whenever people ask me what I mean by finery, it's like when you tell someone that it's a bespoke gamer's box. I'm like, I don't know what that means. It's like, that's why I called it finery. So like, you get something like this from Eldritch Arts for a pencil case and a dice case and a mini case. Like, that's so hard to describe without listing the entire thing off. So whenever I say finery, I mean anything that is drawn to my attention that I believe people will like, that they're not sure they need to buy it. And that has branched out over the past couple of months a lot into kitchen products. So I'm starting to remove the tabletop from in front of it and just say finery. So when people see like a $150 pan, I'm recently reviewing the Our Place brand products. And whenever they see that, they're like, why are these bowls $35? I don't want those. And then I'll get them. I'm like, look at how huge this bowl is. It's made out of ceramic. It's 5 pounds. And they're like, oh, wow, the pictures didn't tell me that. You need someone to kind of explain why these things cost as much as they do. because nobody knows until they get it in their hand. And that's a big gamble for people that don't have that disposable income.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I have worked on selling some luxury or finery products in the RPG space, and yeah, no, I think the value statement is something that people are willing to listen to if it's an explanation that's more personalized rather than, well, yeah, I get it. It's this made of some special material, but like, what's the experience of having it? And I think that's really
Exactly. Like I've had people reach out over the years that I've been doing reviews, and that's where all of this craziness started from, was doing reviews on my website. People be like, what does that dice set sound like when you roll it on concrete? I'd be like, all right, give me a few minutes. Let me take my stuff over here, get a big block and put it on my desk and record it. Here, ooh, that's just right. I think I'll pick those up.
You're like, oh, are you doing a lot of rolling of dice on concrete?
People have concrete tables. Don't concrete shame. Come on now.
also when you're playing
My mistake,
in
my
back
mistake.
alleys. When you're playing craps in a back alley,
when you're playing next to the trash can at your high school and you only have the ground, I mean, come on.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think about that.
You don't get it. Rosie doesn't get much into the underground concrete rolling RPG.
I'm still, to be fair, I'm still new to this entire, like, I mean, I've only been into D&D for like 3 or 4 years now, so there's still a lot to learn.
I don't know if that still qualifies as new. I know people who would say that it does.
Well,
I still feel like it is.
Those people will say anything. They come to me and they're like, "How long have you been playing tabletop?" Like 8 years, I think. Why should I listen to you? I'm like, don't. Bye.
People are like, well, you never played any other versions of Dungeons and Dragons, so you don't know how the game works for real. And I'm like, oh, all right, that's your opinion.
What murders me is the people who say stuff like that and think that way. Like, you've never played blah, blah, blah. A lot of them don't know. Like, they don't know for sure. People come at me because I'm a designer for 5th edition. They're like, oh, you ever played 5th edition? I'm like, I've played like 89 different RPGs in the last 8 years. And many of them I've ran at conventions, and I've had multiple groups of people and new players checking them out. I've reviewed like 15. And they're like, oh, never mind then. But still, favoritism. Like they're gonna complain. That's just part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that my audience never needs to be 100% of the world's population. There are going to be people who tune in and go, and I, all right, yeah, man, go find something else that you enjoy. Don't waste your time here.
That's like a big hot button topic, really, is you sometimes have to pick and choose who you're going to let be your audience. So that was a big part. We've all been on social media the past couple of months where a year into a pandemic, most of us can't get haircuts, I say, looking like some sort of caveman. You know, little things that would give us pleasure, like going and buying fresh food every 2 days like I used to. Now I'm buying them in 2-3 week chunks and dealing with the freezer, like little things add up. And people let that bleed over into the social media. And kind of part of growing your platform and making your platform a reliable place for people is choosing when to cut people out of it. And I would rather, like, since October, I've blocked 861 people on Twitter alone. 861. That is a big chunk. That could have me almost at 13K followers. But those people made me hate being on Twitter. And if they made me hate it, then why would people come and interact with me, you know? So like, if you're casting a wide net, that's fantastic. But the bigger that net is, a lot of those gross little fish can weasel their way in and spoil the entire experience for other people.
I mean, that's fair, man. That's totally fair. I think it's really important to take bad actors out of the communities that we manage. Right?
It's hard to put yourself in that position, but you kind of have to.
I mean, I was a corporate mercenary for 10 years. I can bring an axe down.
No, not you specifically.
Oh, okay.
the royal you.
Oh, no, I think we should keep whispering. This is excellent. Everybody wants to.
Thank you. Thank you for joining the Sip Happens ASMR stream. Just make the worst sounds.
Oh, that was like the nails on the chalkboard for me. But
that's like when you tried to flirt with me this morning using that awful voice.
How would I? Why would? First of all, we are both married to other people. I would never flirt with you. That's insane. How's your lick me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's good.
Which awful voice? The high one or the low one?
But both of them were pretty rough. But the high one in particular was terrible.
This one?
Yep.
Hi, Rosie.
Can I suggest something for your tea enjoyment?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of cleansing your palate, your nose palate when you're drinking tea? How do you two do it?
I don't have a sense of smell.
Right? Something that you can do at home, and I hope that you'll bear with me and try this. I'll do it with you. Something that you can do at home to reset your sense of smell for when you're going to try tea and coffee, to really get those small fragrances. Smell your own skin, like the crook of your arm, your wrist, something like that. Give it 3 or 4 big whiffs, and your body kind of neutralizes some of the odors that are caught in your olfactory senses, so that when you smell your tea, you'll pick up on more subtle details.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, you'll smell your soap, you'll smell your skin, your hair, but then when you go back to your tea,
I don't use it, but I just smell myself, and it's delicious. I now understand why my wife is so attracted to me.
That's super weird how well that worked, because the tea actually tastes better.
Yeah, I promise you it works. It sounds crazy, but it really does work. Even
you heard it here first. You don't have to just smell your wormwood. You can also smell the crook of your elbow.
Don't lick yourself. Smell yourself first. Lick yourself till you smell yourself, I guess. But it's something that I've been doing since I started reviewing coffee and tea. And when you just kind of, get into the practice of doing it without making a big production, it actually really helps you kind of pick up on those scents and learn how to pick them up. It's so crazy that it works.
Rosie, if you ever need a, stand-in host, I recommend this guy.
JB? Yeah, absolutely. I told you I like JB.
I think he knows way more about the thing that we do than I do. Yeah, JB, if Rosie's ever sick or something, can we call you? What's up?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Like, for real, yeah. I'm always happy to help out with cool projects like this one. You've had so many interesting people on, and you've been going through so fast. You've got so many people lined up.
Yeah, it has been a whirlwind.
It has been a fun whirlwind, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like most of the people that have come on so far have been your guests, and so I've met so many cool people, and I'm glad that some of my guests have shown up.
Yeah, we're getting it. Yep. And I didn't know JB before this, and now I'm getting to meet really cool people, and not just hang out with my lame friends that Ginny. We just did Ginny.
Yeah, Ginny's fantastic. And I went on her talk show a little while ago, and that was an absolute blast. She's fantastic. It's something kind of to talk about. You brought up the idea of these groups of people. Like, we share a lot of the same friends, and we share same space in the community, but I don't know you, right? And that's true of tens of thousands of people. It's just so hard, and the community is so big to get to know everybody. But that's something that I've talked with Gabe James Games about a lot, is the idea of the community versus the clique. And the clique is like those same 5 people you see in every single production that they do. in every product, in every live stream, and every charity event. It's the same 5 people with like 1 token extra. And then the community is when you see things like this, like this idea of bringing as many people as you know into a shared similar space for others to get to know and finally overlap that Venn diagram of who they know and who they do not know to find new creators. And that's always fantastic.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been trying to very mindfully do. Because I'm definitely guilty of like defaulting to the click. I have like my core collaborators who I love working with. They're very close friends. They're family. So my name will appear next to Ben Heisler and Paige Lightman a lot, right? But there are so many cool people in the community, such as yourself, who I've never gotten a chance to work with or never gotten a chance to even just talk to. So it's been a very deliberate expansion of the social circles. It's a little tiring sometimes because there's a lot of emotional capital you got to put out there, emotional labor to do to I keep saying the word deliberate, but there's a different word that's stuck somewhere in the back of my brain. Doesn't matter. Deliberately invest in so many.
Intentionally?
Yeah, maybe intentionally. The intentionality of investing your emotional labor into so many relationships. But it's well worth the time because there's so many cool people in our industry.
Every time's a little bit like a gamble. Like you were saying, you have this emotional capital. And when you put that money on a particular person, you try to get to know them, and they turn out to, they don't even have to be bad. They could just not really be the kind of person that you can tolerate. We all have, different tastes and different levels of things that we like, the types of interactions we like to see. I know people that I absolutely adore in person, and then on a social media platform, they are a like borderline bully. They're so mean to people they don't know, and I can't handle that. I'm like, I love you. I will hang out with you. I'll work with you. You're fantastic, but go away. Go away from my Twitter. Be gone.
Yeah. And I think there's also something to be said about like, if the people that you're working with, like, what is your end goal? Like, what are you shooting for? And is everybody on that? You don't all have to be on the exact same page, but like going in the same direction of it. And so, like, for me, I have done one project that was very focused on like skill development and things like that, and getting other people to be like reading it and being like, well, this isn't D&D or whatever. And you're like, well, no, but this is sort of it. And so like getting people to like accept that like your goals might not all be exactly the same, but like can you find value in what we're offering nonetheless? Love it.
That's one of those small things that I've kind of kicked toward people who are unsure if they want to do like an actual product or grow an actual community. There's nothing wrong if you just want to be on Twitter and exist. That you don't have to go forward with a goal in mind. I've never had a goal in mind with this whole craziness. It's just kind of happened. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're unsure if your opinion matters, it does. You can do the exact same publication as someone else, the exact same, and it'll be so different when it's actually done that it'll be like night and day. They'll be in the same general vicinity, but it's like fantasy authors. 2 people cannot write a fantasy book about the same kind of story and have it turn out exactly the same. It's borderline impossible. Your opinion's always going to skew things a little bit, and people will connect with your opinion more than someone who shares a similar opinion.
That's true. Speaking of being an author, JB, I know you've written a lot. Tell us some of your highlights. Tell us what you've learned. Tell us, I don't know, whatever you want to share.
Where can we get your things?
So you can find a list of my portfolio on my website, DropTheDie.com. But primarily, I publish my own material on DM's Guild for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've done some freelance work in other genres and other systems, but I think we all kind of know that it's like comparing a skyscraper to a house. No matter how cool the house is, it's a skyscraper for D&D. It's just so big. Even if you only get 1% of the people who see it, you'd be a millionaire, and that's kind of hard to beat. But you learn so much more from working with other systems and people who specialize in other systems. And I think that would probably be one of my number one suggestions for new authors writing for tabletop games in general. Work with people outside of exactly what you focus on. I've written stuff that I am not an expert in. Like, I do not drink and I do not go to bars. I don't really travel, but I wrote taverns, inns, and tap rooms. So
it's my favorite.
It's a Mithril bestseller, which means it's had, I think, more than 10,000 copies sold or something. It's like everybody seems to have bought it. People know it and don't know me. It's crazy.
It's so good.
But that only came about because I talked to people who frequent those locations. I figured out what was important to them, and I did my own research on it because I didn't want my opinion of it to color the final product. And doing that with tabletop as a whole is such a good idea. Figuring out how other people write their modules for their games, figuring out how other games are written in the first place. It's infinite wealth of possibilities.
That's awesome. That is a very good piece of advice. I love it. Yeah. I love that concept of your add-ons and all of the cool things that exist in your books and your stories and your writing. It's very cool. So the way that I know you or that I first knew you, things have changed, was that you did a lot of storytelling. You love like the idea of telling a story of, obviously RPGs are kind of out there as a way to tell like stories as a group. But I think you have a particular style that I've always admired since I first started hearing your stories. So how did you get into all of this stuff? Like what brought you into storytelling and has now launched you into all these reviews and now you're doing kitchen gadgets and gear. But what brought you into storytelling?
So in high school, I liked to read. My mother was an avid reader, and she lent me when I was in 4th grade, 5th grade. What age are kids in 4th and 5th grade? I think that's right. 14. None of us know. So you at home, leave a comment.
Yeah, tell us.
reach out to us on Twitter. What age were you in 4th grade?
Keep tagging DropTheDie on Twitter until he responds to you.
Yeah, just the number. Just at DropTheDie and then the number. Don't tell me what the number's about. That will ruin the surprise.
No context.
When I was in 4th grade, I distinctly remember we were doing AR Reader, and it was pretty new at our school. And my best friend at the time, Dustin, was reading through Dr. Seuss books real rapid fast and taking the quizzes on them and getting 100%. And I read through John Grisham's The Client and took that one test and got like 500 AR Reader points. And that was it for the semester for me. But when I went into college, I was actually focused on game design and game programming, software development. I came from a really poor school. Our graduating class was 40 people, and it was the biggest in our school's history. And my hometown, which was part of that school region, has fewer than 300 total people in it, right? So super dirt poor, really bad time going into college. And because I didn't know how college worked, I didn't know what to expect, my GPA tanked in my second year of college. And I took an English class to kind of boost it up. I'd always loved poems and poetry and plays and fiction. And the very first day of my 101 level fiction writing class, I wrote a poem using words that Dr. Michael Cardos, my professor, had put up on the board. And when I read it aloud, as we were all told to do, he tilted his head and pinched his eyes, almost closed, and said, "Damn, that's good." And that changed my major. Like, I changed it to writing, English with an emphasis on writing. And because I had all those years in game design already at my back and had been reading all these books about it, transitioning to tabletop wasn't that hard, but I did not learn about tabletop RPGs until I was 23, 24. And it just through happenstance. I saw my roommate, who I barely knew at the time, looking at a book with a dragon on it. I'm like, what are you doing? This is called Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, oh, cool. Let me look at that book. And when I realized it was a game you played by telling stories, my head exploded.
We're glad you got it back together.
Yeah, it's kind of been that ever since. It's just finding a new thing and being like, I like that. I started doing the reviews because I didn't know what to buy. And I looked for people that did reviews. There's like 6 YouTubers, and they usually just say, so the product is pretty cool. All right, see you next month. 25-minute video, they just kind of turn it around. And that's not against them. That grows their platform, that makes them money. That's what YouTube expects. But when I looked for written reviews, there are so few, or at least there were like 4 years ago now. There were so few. And like nobody talked about a Wormwood product. I'm like, why are these so expensive? What's special about them? So that's why I started doing that. And then 5th edition kind of rolled around. My very first publication for DM's Guild was a handout that I made for my players. And I was like, maybe someone will like this. And it sold like 150 copies in 3 days. It freaked me out. People were like, make more. I'm like, I don't know what else to do. So I just started posting the things that I already made for people. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's awesome.
I just went and bought Taverns, Inns, and Tap Rooms and your Taroka Critical Hit deck. I
did a revamp on that one a couple months ago. And
yeah, it said there was an update.
Comparing the original release to the revamp, I only spent 1 day on the revamp. That's what I told myself. I wasn't going to waste any more than 1 day. And comparing what I could do in 1 day to what took me like a week when I released the first version, like I nearly cried. Is the idea that like I had changed so much in what I could actually make.
That's amazing. Good. Yay, Shawn, you'll have to let me know what you think.
I will do so. I really want to just open them up now, but we're in the middle of this. So
yeah, I mean, we're getting close-ish. You've got about 20 or so minutes, and then you can be done to do whatever. Cool. Yeah, so you can live your best life by then.
One other bonus thing, I'm in no way sponsored, obviously. I just had to look it up to make sure I had the right title. But one of the books that kind of changed how I perceived storytelling and how I choose to write my fiction in my tabletop games is called The Anatomy of a Story by John Truby. That book is killer, and you absolutely need it if you're a writer or you think that you want to develop games for tabletop. It is a bottomless wealth of knowledge, and you should definitely check it out. Beautiful. The Anatomy of a Story.
It is on my short list of books that people who come to me and they say, I want to write a novel. I want to write an adventure. I want to write stuff. I want to write stories. Where do I start? What materials can you recommend? It's on my short list of recommendations. It is an excellent resource.
Before I read that book and started kind of putting it into practice, this is just an example, obviously, don't judge me. So like someone would tell me to come up with a story idea. I would be like, it's a fairy prince who wants to reclaim the throne, right? Solid, it works, but it's not very dynamic. And as soon as I read The Anatomy of the Story and learning about the 5-point antagonist circle, like all these things that he talks about, different opposing factions and different opposing things for each individual character, it changes how you perceive that same exact story beat. So even if you take the fairy prince who wants to reclaim their throne, like the idea that you can expand each individual word in that sentence into its own plot, that's where the real magic kind of happens with that storytelling. So it's one of those things, learning how to pick good resources in that same vein. Find someone who likes that book and then ask them for another book, and I guarantee you they'll give you magic. It's very, very good.
I also like to give, if not that whole book, then like a primer on it to salespeople who I work with or work for me. Because at the end of the day, sales is storytelling. And I've met a lot of people who want to sell things who do not understand that. Like they'll be like, hey, this is my first email to the client, and I've written this novel. I'm just like, they're never going to read any of that. Any of it. You've lost them just by doing that. You got to get them hooked before they're going to listen to your 5-act play, man. Like, it's no one's watching Macbeth if it doesn't start on the witches. Anyway, I can keep going on that forever, but I'm not the one being interviewed.
This is true. But storytelling is so important, right? To what we do, to how we can kind of get through. I mean, I don't know about you all, but storytelling has made this last year very minimally better. Like, to the point where I'm like, oh, I think I could probably get through another week or two if I have a good story to tell. And just keep doing that until here we are, like almost like a year later. So I'm grateful.
For me, it's like, what day is it? What's happening? I'm scared.
Yeah, I lose track of the days pretty quickly.
You know, now that we kind of broached the topic of like emails, it made me think that might be why Twitter is my preferred platform, is capturing people's attention with one sentence. And I remembered my favorite plays, or my favorite first line from a play. The sky above the port was the color of a television tuned to a dead channel, from The Necromancer, a novel that's been turned into a play 1,000 times. But capturing people's attention with the first line, the first little anchor point that you can stick them with, is so important in literally everything we do in life. From resumes, like, if all you're doing is putting what you've done on a resume, you've not gotten that job, unless you're just like insane. Unless you're an actual genius or you know someone, it's going to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gotten a job other than by knowing someone.
That's true in the tabletop sphere too. Like, you know,
same, hard same.
When I started out
as a freelance,
it's pretty rough, and you have to be the one to kind of extend that olive branch and throw that rope around people that you want to know. And the sad truth is, you're probably going to have to pester them to death before they actually remember you. When you're first starting out and getting to know somebody, liking and retweeting and joining the streams and saying the words, it's hard to remember everybody, you know? And
I miss conventions.
Yeah.
I make a pretty good one-on-one like impact, and I've always been able to like single out somebody who might be overwhelmed at a convention and find the moment when like it's okay to approach. You know what I mean?
Offer some stoicism. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I'm super stoic. No, but like there's plenty of people in our industry that can't walk through Gen Con without getting swamped.
No, I can't walk through Gen Con, period. Because my very first convention was D&D Live in 2019, and
Yeah.
it was only 300 people, and I was so overwhelmed. Like, I tried to play it off. I plastered a smile on my face the whole time. I did all the things that you're supposed to do to kind of hide it. But the entire weekend, I felt like I was going to throw up at any second. Like, my anxiety was so bad. And I made some bad impressions because of it. You know, some people can't read past that you're literally, every breath is uncomfortable. And anxiety is rough, but my God, going to conventions really does excel your career by years. Just my very first one got me maybe 5 projects between the launch of D&D Live and me going to PAX Unplugged that same year. 5 or 6 people brought me on for projects, 3 or 4 freelance gigs. It's just people want to know you before they trust you with their darlings, with their babies, their time, and their commitment. Like we said earlier in this episode, every time you use that social currency, that emotional currency, it's a gamble on a new person.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a lot to toss around, especially with real world currency involved, it's pretty difficult. So getting to know people face to face is very important.
Yeah, a lot of my success in the industry has been because I've been able to meet people and treat them like a human being and make a good impression in person. And then they're like, oh, well, you say you're an editor, so here, take my project and edit this. And I'm just like, you haven't seen any of my work. You've never asked for a sample. They're like, yeah, I mean, if you suck, then I'll find that out. But I like you as a person, so go do this.
Remember that time I told you I could write stuff and you were like, here's a project? That was fun.
You're guilty of your own joke.
Oh, no, I wasn't making it. Like, 100% I do the same thing. Like, if I meet somebody, like when I met Rosie, who I think is a cool person with a good perspective, who will bring value to a project that I have the ability to bring people on to, then I'll do that. And if it turns out that, like, and this wasn't true for Rosie, but if it turns out that, like, maybe they're a little rough around the edges as a writer or as an editor or as an artist or whatever we brought them along to, I have a stable of, like, super pros that I can bring in to, like, coach and help out. Like, I'm less worried about getting the final product to where I need it to be than I am about expanding my circle so that I'm never siloed into the same voices over and over again.
So that you're never stuck with a clique, like we were talking about earlier. That's how those cliques form. You get hurt by someone, you go rely on your steady, normal alternative instead, and then you're stuck working with the same 5 people, pumping out similar products over and over again. And as long as they keep selling, you'll keep doing it. But that's not a good way to expand your horizons as a creative. It's probably a good business venture, but when it comes to groundbreaking work and really shaking up things with what you release, you're better off finding new people and then cobbling together their ideas into something that resembles the shape you want, instead of trying to find someone that just fits in that hole and leave them there forever. And
I got fortunate that my core clique also wants to find new voices, also wants to try to elevate other creators. So we don't always work together, but we are always working towards that goal. And we always, like, there's a short list of people that if they call me up and they're like, hey, I took a gamble on somebody, I think they have some good ideas, but it's real rough. I need like some heavy editing and I need it by 48 hours from now, that I'll be like, cool, let me do this for the next however long it takes.
Dear viewer, when you're watching this, think about how we've said a lot of the same things about excelling in the industry with existing on social media, because they do mirror each other quite a bit. Yeah. And the reason that is, if you're curious, is because tabletop RPGs are a social platform themselves. You have to know people. Even if you're only playing a one-person RPG, if you write, edit, release, and play only one-person RPGs, you have like 6 people that know you and 6 people that give you feedback on the game. You won't even know if the game's good or not unless other people play it. You need that group feedback and consistency. all of the things that will help you in the industry and all of your strengths in the industry are probably your strength on social media and vice versa. So try and focus on those and try and expand yourself in that direction instead of wasting your time doing other things that may not get you anywhere.
This is true. I think with that amazing piece of advice, we have to talk about our rating system now and start to wind down as we hit our hour mark, unfortunately.
This is the saddest part of every episode to me.
I
Like, I
know.
like talking about tea, but anytime we have an awesome guest like JB on, and I don't think we've had anything but awesome guests,
I agree.
I'm like, oh, this means that we're going to the end. Anyway, JB, we have a rating system for our teas. It goes from 0 stars to 5 stars, and I'm going to read you a little bit about what that means. You down? Doesn't matter. I'm going to do it anyway. 0 stars is bad, would recommend against. This is a tea that, for whatever reason, we believe nobody should ever try. 1 star is fine, would not order, would drink to be polite. This is also this whole scale is obviously very subjective. 2 stars, would drink, wouldn't buy. 3 stars, this is where most of our teas are going to fall. Good, would buy, not preferred. Right. So 3 stars is also what I like to call our stocking stuffers. If you're grabbing a delicious sample pack from somebody and you've tried a lot of the teas and you see you have some 3 stars in there, those are like, yeah, cool. I'm glad those are in there because I know that I'll enjoy them. But they might not be a 4 or 5 star. And a 4 star is great. Will order again. You get something out of that sample pack and you're like, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to get this again. And then 5 stars is awesome. Must keep on hand. Very few 5 stars. These are the ones that you're so enamored with that if you run out, you're automatically going to order another. You're automatically going to make sure that you have it on hand. How'd I do, Rosie?
Thumbs up. I like it. I like the adding on of the third, like explaining 3 stars, because sometimes people might hear 3 stars and say not preferred and think like, oh, well, that's not a good rating. But 3 stars is what you should shoot for as a teammate, as a team maker. 3 stars is good.
It's kind of sad that the scales have been skewed so much to 5 stars, like 4 star being terrible and 4 stars supposed to be very good, but not perfect.
Right. Exactly. So 3 stars is good. 3 stars means like, this was a solid tea. Yeah. You can't have that many teas all the time in your house, right? I don't know. I have a lot of tea in my house.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the 3 of us can. It's a professional. Right. People at other places maybe don't need to have upwards of 100 to 200 types of tea in their house at a time.
It's fine. It's fair.
At some point,
Shawn,
yeah.
Shawn, where licking me? Where does that lick me? Where does that rate for you?
Lick me rates pretty well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I've enjoyed this. It does not taste like a chocolate orange, but it does still like bring that kind of warm memory. Like there's a lot of nostalgia for me here. I think that I'm liking. Let me look at this ingredients real quick because I'm bad at remembering things. The calendula is never my favorite, but the blackberry leaves, the black tea, the orange pieces, doing a lot of heavy lifting here to create a nuanced and flavorful tea that I am happy to drink. That make sense?
Yeah.
Great.
But what's your number?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that while I was talking. So there's a part of me that wants to be nice, and I try to kill that part of me every day. That part of me wants to rate this a 4 just to be polite, but no, it's a 3, and I think it's a solid 3. I would be very happy to see lick me on any list. I'm gonna write my comments down in our chart now.
Great.
Rosie, what about you?
I'll be honest. I finished the whole cup. I probably was done about 10 minutes ago with drinking it. I really enjoyed this. I found it nostalgic. I did. I found some of it to have just like flavors that reminded me of childhood and like winter and childhood. I actually am not opposed to drinking tea with milk, and I will make this again and try it with a little bit of milk to see if that elevates some of the flavors. But I agree, like the blackberry was really subtle but really good. The orange was incredible. I am giving this a 3, but I'm reserving it a 4 because I think I'm going to really enjoy it with milk because I like tea with milk. So I'm gonna probably actually make more of this in a little bit and put some milk in. Yeah, probably.
So if you're clicking on the link that showed up just now in chat to look at our reviews, and you say it's a 4 instead of a 3, it's not a typo. Rosie's changed her mind.
I did. I changed my mind. Yeah, this is a good flavor. It's warm. It's deep. There's complexity to it, but it's not so overwhelming that my tongue can't decide on the flavors that it should be enjoying. So I enjoyed it. JB, how was your tea on our rating scale?
Well,
can you drink just the air?
Spice must flow. It has a lot of really great qualities to it. The decaffeinated coffee adds that little bit of bitterness and a lot of aroma, which is very fantastic. It's got green tea, and I'm pretty sure it's got black tea in there as well. I'm doing this without an ingredients list to try and be honest. I love the ginger, which you can definitely pick out, and I love the spice blend, which I think is probably cinnamon and maybe cardamom. But this tea has an absolute obsession with cream and caramel. And cream and caramel, it ends up tasting like a watery kind of spiced. It's as though someone added a more cheap caramel coffee creamer to a very, very 5-star tea. Because of the caramel and the cream flavors, I'm going to give this a 2 and a low end on a 2. Though I love Friday tea, and I think that this has a very complex, wonderful flavor underneath, that cream and caramel is just too much for me. All I can smell now is the caramel. So if you really like caramel and chocolates and sweets and candies, this will probably be great for you, but not for me.
I'm going to try it. Sounds so good to me.
It's got so much working for it, but I just can't give it a 3 or a 4 because both the cream and the caramel take away from it for me.
And we've had that too, where like we know the tea is probably really good, and somebody who likes rose petals would really like the taste of that tea, but neither of us wanted the flavor of rose petal, didn't do it for us or whatever it was, and so we rate it lower and say, hey, if this is your thing, like you're gonna love it. For us, it's not ours.
Yep.
Yeah, our ratings are all subjective to what we like. Oftentimes I like there's a part of me that wants to be nice and talk about the fact that like if you're really into the blah blah blah, I can tell that this is doing blah 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 well, even though that's not what I want. No, that's not what we're doing here. It's not what our goals are.
Yeah.
This is about what I like, and what Rosie likes, and what JB likes. That's it.
Don't you dare question our tastes.
That's an excellent.
That is. JB.
Sip happens with this lovely background. Don't you dare question our tastes.
Yeah, can we sample that? Can we sample that, Rosie? Can you pull that out of the recording so we can?
Yeah,
you just add it?
We can do that. Absolutely. JB, if the people who are watching this want to find you, it is all popping up in chat, but say it out loud for those of us who are now cluing in that we can find you on social medias.
The number one place to find me for social media is twitter.com/@DropTheDie, all one word. You can find me almost everywhere at DropTheDie. LinkedIn, Patreon, Facebook, OnlyFans, Vampire Freaks, just wherever. At DropTheDie, you'll probably find me. And if you use DropTheDie at most checkouts, I probably have a coupon there too. I reach out to everywhere. If you see me with a product, DropTheDie, slap it in and see if it works. It almost certainly will. And because, I love to give back to the community. Like I said, I didn't plan for any of this to happen to me, right? So I constantly feel like I have to give back. Chances are I'm running a giveaway. Right now, I'm giving away a set of gorgeous dice, and
Yay!
I hope everyone enters. Obviously, this is coming out a little bit in the future, right?
Yes.
And how long do we think that'll be? 12 weeks? 15 weeks? You've had so many guests.
We have.
It's
We can
October.
set it up.
We can
Um,
release whenever you like. Yeah.
Oh,
If
no,
you have something-
whenever. Just whenever I do monthly giveaways, usually dice, books, paraphernalia, the finery that I've talked about. I'm trying to work with our place to give away kitchen stuff. So swing by. I'm almost always doing a giveaway just so that I can give something back to the community for all the support that you've shown me.
You're amazing.
That's very.
Shawn,
For
anywhere
reference-
new? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, for reference, the episode that will be airing this upcoming Wednesday from when we are recording this, we recorded exactly 1 month ago today.
We did.
So, yeah. Anyway. Where can they find me?
Is there anywhere new you want to talk about or anywhere old?
What you want to do is you want to get on
Okay.
State Road 17, head out past mile marker 80. You're going to take a left on an unmarked road onto a orange grove, between two orange groves. You follow that for about a mile and a half. You can take your second right. Then hit play on Freebird. Drive to the second chorus, and that's where you'll find me.
Cool. Sip Happens has a Twitter account, so just follow us for Sip Happens 2 right now. I'm going to try and change that, but Sip Happens 2. Follow us on Twitter, please. We will obviously share when we're having our cool episodes and take pictures of tea-related things. And if you ever do end up finding Shawn wherever they are, feel free to take a picture of that as well, because I am curious.
Please don't get lost in orange groves.
But if you are, you have a lot of oranges. Vitamin C. Good for you.
Yeah, you won't get scurvy. But
Thank you, JB, for being with us today. It was awesome to have you on. Thank you, everyone who watched, and that was awesome that you're here. And as we like to say around here, Sip Happens.
It happens.
Yes.